So welcome everyone to the July 2nd Select Board meeting. We just exited executive session. Our apologies for running a little bit over. Our first item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance, led by Noel.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, a nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Noel. Okay. Our second item is to discuss the health insurance. We have obviously been talking about this for quite some time. There was a request from the select board at a couple meetings ago for the health insurance trust to look at some plan design changes. The health insurance trust has had a few meetings since then at which they've been gathering data. They have been provided some plan design change options from the consultant from Hub, and they met yesterday afternoon. There were 4 motions made. I'm going to go through those 4 motions and sort of talk about where the select board lands on those 4 motions and what sort of next steps do we anticipate happening. The first motion was to obtain quotes from Hub and evaluate stop loss renewal for November 1st, 2026. That particular motion was voted on by 6 members of the Health Insurance Trust, and it passed 6-0-0. So all were in favor. The select board did not take a formal vote on this, but the consensus of the board members was that they also were in support of this motion. The next motion was to no longer pursue the GIC as a healthcare plan for implementation joining July 1st, 2027. Again, 6 members of the Health Insurance Trust voted. 6 voted in favor of that motion. And the consensus of the select board is that we would not pursue that GIC as an option for July 1st, 2027. The next motion is to defer implementation of the GIC lookalike plan design changes for the November 26th renewal. This would to allow the Health Insurance Trust to reassess its position in the spring after the FY28 budget has been released. And again, there were 6 votes taken, or cast, excuse me, 3 yes, 2 no, and 1 abstention. The select board's consensus on this particular motion was that they were in favor and hope to see some meaningful work done in the spring on this initiative. And the final motion was to notify the Health Insurance Advisory Committee and to enter negotiations with the Public Employee Committee toward the implementation of a midpoint plan design change intended to take effect for the November 1st, 2026 plan renewal period. The vote for that was 3 yes, 2 no, and 1 abstention from the Health Insurance Trust. And the select board also had the consensus of supporting that vote as well. So the select board would like to see that process move forward. However, we have heard from numerous stakeholders, not just today, but in the preceding weeks, about communication, about education, about just making sure that everybody's on the same page with regard to some of the efficiencies that we are trying to pursue with the health insurance for the town of Westford. To that end, we would offer for stakeholders and any other interested parties a public opportunity, an informational session that we would hold on July 23rd at 4:30. This would be a hybrid arrangement. So we will have the ability to host people both in person or via Zoom, at which time we would allow questions and try to provide data on what the impact of moving towards a midpoint plan design change would mean for the folks that are currently using Westford health insurance options and any other eligible people. I would encourage that people who are interested in this discussion send their questions to the town manager's office so that we can have those in advance and provide the research necessary to answer them as completely as possible. Kristen, the best way to get to the town manager's office, would you like emails or phone calls or both? Can you comment on that, please?
Yep. So if you could email tmaa@westfordma.gov. That's a distribution list that we can collect the questions at. I'd also if there's employees or retirees who want the select board to hear from them, Chris, I would think that you'd be open to receiving questions and comments as well, correct?
Absolutely. Thank you for that clarification, Kristen. The select board is always willing to hear from any and all. Please send your emails to our distribution list, which you can find on the select board's webpage on the town's website. There is a link that says contact the select board, and it will go to all the select board members, including the town manager. So they'll be all appraised of your questions, comments, etc. At this point, we are quite a bit behind on our schedule. As this is a midday meeting with lots of people, obviously at work, I'm not going to be able to take public comment on this. Again, we will have opportunities for the public and stakeholders to meet with us, members of the Health Insurance Trust, have your questions answered at the July 23rd meeting. And we will also potentially have another meeting just in case we hear from a lot of people who can't make the 23rd. So I recognizing that this is a time in which people are away. With that said, I want to just open it up to the board in case any of the board members would like to make a comment regarding this topic. Yes, Tom, please.
Chris, I don't know if you can see my hand. Just a little bit, at least my own take on the why I think both the GIC and a major go-to-benchmark plan design needs more space and time. I think it's become clear that this is something that would require a lot more education, a much more focused timeline. There's a lot of things to consider. And, I've become convinced that we don't have time to treat either of those in the right way in the time that we have, given when all the different deadlines fall. So I think we do want to find a way to have that conversation. And we'll spend some time, I think, probably as a board, figuring out the best roadmap to deal with those bigger questions. And then the question for me, at least, of why do something now, sort of a much more limited scope change. It's on the other side is looking at just the taxpayers' money, preparing for what's always a challenging budget, but especially challenging budget in fiscal 28. And so I think I agree with the insurance trust that considering this much more limited program change that will make our plans somewhat more like our peers in our benchmark committee feels like the right trade-off to me, balancing the really important interests of the stakeholders who are members of our healthcare plan, but also the interests of meeting all the other budget needs that we have and what the taxpayers, our obligation to the taxpayers. So that's at least a tiny bit of context about at least where I sit on the various pieces of this.
Very important context, and I concur completely. Thank you, Tom, for fleshing out that. Appreciate it. Anything else? Yes, Sean.
Real quick, I just want to thank the Health Insurance Trust for tackling this issue. Obviously, we did have pretty specific questions and tasks that we asked them to look into, and they did that. And obviously, there were some votes and differences of opinions, but I want to thank them for their time for doing that. And to add on to what Tom said, right? Obviously, this is an issue of timing because we have the November renewal. So to give ourselves space to really get as much feedback as we can for big decisions like GIC or even a GIC benchmark within our own plan. We need time for that, and I completely concur. Whatever decision that we make, I think it all goes back to, as Tom pointed out, benchmarking, right? What are our comparable communities doing? But also related to that is employee retention and employee satisfaction, and we have to be mindful of that as we go forward, because we're employers too, and there's humans behind this, and this will have a real impact on people and their families. So I appreciate the thoughtful discussion, and I look forward to having a further discussion on the 23rd.
Any other select board members want to weigh in? Okay. All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn if the board is so inclined at this point.
So moved.
Is there a second? Thank you. All those in, well, we'll do the roll call, sorry. Elizabeth?
Aye.
Noel?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
And I'm also an aye. All right, we are adjourning this meeting. I look forward to seeing